What a fail. All right, CarPro, what is this? Dark Side. CarPro Dark Side auto fiber applicator. Well, I definitely have a finite list of chemicals that I use. I really don't use that much, or as far as that many different products. You don't need, 50 different products to detail a car. I think companies lose credibility when they start showing, all these different products. That's where chemical guys got in trouble. Chemical guys would have, oh, look at that, he's got a bubble. Oh, what a bummer. I should tell him. I was talking to Doug when he dropped the car off. He said they've gone through, or they've popped 6 tires. 6. I mean, these are low profile, right? It's a 285/30/21. I have 21s on the Macan, but I have a thicker sidewall. Even her iX is 22s, but those have a higher aspect ratio. It pops 6 tires, and we got a little bubble. Where is it? I know I talked about the hedge fund thing last video. I was a little hesitant of keeping that in when I was editing, because I don't know. I work in finance, so I look at numbers all day. I focus a lot on my personal finance as well, but I don't know, if folks find that interesting. I find it really interesting. I'm not a financial advisor. I work in corporate finance, which is way different than, personal finance. There is a lot of, crossovers. I think a lot about risk-adjusted return, which is, kind of the basis of, both personal and, corporate finance. Oh, he's got another bubble here. Oh, that's crazy. Right there, bubble. All right, so that's both rears. This car looks so good on camera. All right, slight change of plans. I'm unable to open that bottle of can coat. These ceramics, they harden, and after they harden, it's game over. Instead, I have, this is Top Coat, similar name, but this is System X. This is what they suggest for their topper. All right, so the plan this weekend is to do, so it's Friday night, it's late. Yeah, see, it's 8 o'clock. The plan is to finish the bulk of this tonight, then I'll finish it in the morning, and then I'm gonna swap cars. If folks are interested, I can talk about, my personal finance kind of goals. The main one being, our goal is to retire in 10 years. So I could maybe talk about how I'm setting myself up, or at least planning for that. We'll see what happens. A lot can change in 10 years, but as of now, our goals are and our decisions are based on that. The main one being, obviously that's early retirement for us, so you can't touch 401ks. There's obviously no Social Security at that point. So what I've been trying to figure out is what are you going to live off of, for 15 to 17 years? The other problem I'm trying to solve is how do I, get my kids set up properly for her future. But the main thing for my daughter, that's the easy one, is, right, so I have a 529 for her. I have an investment account for her, and she has a small checking account balance. But I'm trying to get her, she's 7, she doesn't understand this stuff, but I'm trying to get her to think more about, spending and budgeting. So she has chores. She gets $10 a week in allowance if she sufficiently completes those chores. Hopefully with the 529, and then the way the projection is, I have no idea what school's going to cost, in 10 years, but the 529, should pay for, her full college and board and everything. And then I did start, I don't know, maybe let's see, she's 7. Probably 3 years ago, I opened a brokerage account for her. And I've just been buying primarily Apple, and then I've been buying the ETF I like, SPYI. I do want to diversify that a bit more, but the balances aren't big. I think there's probably like $6,000 in there right now. But so I give her a couple $100 a month in that brokerage account. I basically try to buy a share of Apple a month and then a couple shares of SPYI a month. And then with her checking account, I'm hoping I can save that enough and I can hand it over to her and she can, manage that herself. And then we'll see what kind of decisions she makes. But, we got in a bad habit, especially when she was younger. We would just buy her whatever she wanted. We're at Target getting something and, she'd ask for a toy and I'd be like, sure. So she got in this habit that we created of basically asking or getting whatever she wanted. We've curbed that greatly. I don't buy her anything now unless her grades are all A's. So they get quarterly report cards. If she gets all 4s, she has a $20 budget and I can, take her and buy a toy. And then depending on her age and how long I keep detailing, I'm gonna, put her on as an employee. And once she starts having earned income, then I can make an IRA for her and start getting that. 'Cause right now it's just a taxable brokerage account, but she has no earned income. Hopefully those 3 things. I'm most concerned about the college. The brokerage is for whatever, but if I can get the 529, properly funded, there's a good balance in there now. I mean, I'm pretty proud of that. I opened that when she was like 2 months old. And that's a great reminder of the power of time value of money and just compounding. Right, the sooner you start, the smaller contributions you need. I almost forgot, we do have this little scratch to deal with, at least try. So it's right there on that body line where the light is. There's just a little scuff. I don't know if you can see that. It's right there. Let's try this again. I think we got it. That's perfect. So the average person, the normal car owner, these are the type of scratches that they see, whereas I see all the micro scratches from washing and stuff. But it's stuff like this. You know, if you can clean this up as part of the maintenance, you know, folks really appreciate it. There we go. It is right there in that body line. Oop. That looks great. You know, so especially on these maintenance details, if there's like one or two, you know, things I can do to, you know, really add to the value, then I'll do it. You know, like polishing that, like that's a, you know, a 30-second gig for me, but that's something that maybe the owner would think is a big deal. You know, so I like showing value with that. So for this detail, I charge $350 for this size vehicle. I haven't changed that price in forever, and I'm okay with that price point. You know, I should have like 4 hours into this. I probably have 5, but all right, these water spots are bugging me. It's just this side. I wonder if he has sprinklers or something, but let's see, there's the after. Much better. That looks so good on camera. Look at this thing. Smooth paint, fresh protection, deep clean, clayed iron. You know, a very nice maintenance detail. Well deserved. Needed it. So my neighbor lives like a couple minutes away. Get this thing. Oop. You know, with the S-Class, it's really about the interior, though. Look at this thing. Gangster. Look at this rear leg room. I mean, it's crazy. Big center stack. Maybe I just need to grow up and get a full-size sedan. Oh, it's so nice. There we go. All right, we're gonna call this one a wrap. I'm gonna try to get it swapped out for the BMW, and we'll pick this up later.